Sweet friends, how do you do today? And how do you woo today? And how do you woo you today? Welcome to How to Woo, a podcast on love and making love so we can make sure we're making lives we love. I am your host, Luna Robbie. I am a multi-artist and creative guide obsessed with learning about life, especially from other humans direct, because we all have our own unique perspective and wisdom. So here we are again for some deep listening and a little vicrophilia so we can stay excited about life and co-create a world where taking care of each other is the norm. Let's dive in. Our guest today is a 29-year-old bisexual ex-Mormon who is ethically non-monogamous and polyamorous, is in a committed relationship, and is into extended vanilla deliciousness, all things sensual, deep human connection, exploring with both men and women, power play, interesting experiences off and on camera, and has so many other things she still wants to try on camera. And on camera is the place she loves showing off most. A porn star, content creator, and legal courtesan at Sheri's Ranch, originally from Utah and with us today from Vegas. Welcome, Nikki Sweet.
Hello, I'm happy to be here. All the
I'm
sweetness is okay. Extra sweetness.
extra sweet, Nikki Sweet. I am so excited. This has been a long time in coming. We have been discussing the idea of having you on pod for quite a while, so I'm very titillated today. Could you pretty please start off by sharing with us if you had to rate yourself on a sexual shame-o-meter, with 10 being the most full of shame and 0 being like, I don't have any, where do you fall right now? And when, if ever, has it squiggled up or down over the years?
Okay, so definitely interesting you mentioned the change. I mean, I think like most people, there's been a development over the years. As you mentioned, I am ex-Mormon, so I would say that sexual shame pretty much comes with the territory. Like you're not supposed to have, sexual feelings. Like if anything, there's just this sacred thing you'll do someday when you're married and you'll find out about it then, like probably that night. Like a very like high expectation of waiting. So I would say like as far as with the most shame,
10.
10? Yeah, it was probably like a 9 or 10.
Damn.
Maybe a 9 because I think over time I knew I had sexuality. I just couldn't express it to anyone. And then, I would say by high school when I started, like having some relationships, starting to have some introductory experiences, maybe that started to shift, even a little bit more. And that also probably helped shift me out of the Mormon church. So yeah, probably somewhere like a 5, when I'm going to college. And yeah, I mean, definitely. And then all my experiences in the porn industry, doing like online, talking to people, working at Sheri's Ranch. I feel like I'm sitting pretty comfortably, like maybe around a 2 right now, 2 or
Fuck
3.
yeah. Okay. I love that. Do you find, even nowadays, do you ever find moments where it like spikes up in certain circumstances? Like, are you pretty comfortable and open talking about your work in the wider world? Or is it something where you're like, oh God, I gotta hide? Like, what is that like for you?
So I think that what stops me more from like talking about it with people is things like safety. I want to know like kind of from the get go that they care about things like women's rights, that they support women's sexuality in general,
Yeah.
because I just don't really enjoy like opening up about those kinds of things, with people that like, why have the conversation?
Yeah.
So I would say like, I wouldn't call it shame that I don't want to like discuss it with everyone exactly, but more just circumstantial. Like
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
kind of just something I like to keep personal and for people that I like interact with and trust.
Totally.
But
That sounds just like prudent. Like you're like, okay, I'm gonna be logical about this. Okay, good. So we have dealt with shame for now. Before we dive
for now.
into, for now, if it comes up, it can, whatever. We'll see how the stories unfold and get into all of it. But before we get into all the sexy details, I would love to hear just a little bit about you as a human. So could you tell us, like, in general, in life, sexy or not, what brings you big joy? What makes you go, woo?
As far as just like pure joy, like my very first thought, I'm like, my cats.
Yeah, I love that answer. That's the
Yeah,
first time I've heard. I love that. Yeah. Ooh, you have
they
multiples.
bring me so much joy. But no, in addition to that, though, I mean, I really, like when I do connect with someone, like in a relationship, something like that, like I really just love like spending time together, having time together, doing things together, cooking together, eating together. I just really am about spending time with people. That I think makes me just light up, and feel
Yeah.
like my most happy self. So while I value some alone time, I think in general, I like to have, someone that I really feel like I'm connecting with and sharing my life with.
I love that. What about like creative activities or adventure-y things? Like, what do you do outside of humaning?
Yes, outside of you. um, I've really been enjoying camping lately, anything outdoors. When I was younger, I don't know why. I couldn't stand it. Like I didn't like bugs, things like that. And now I just really, really value time where I can totally disconnect because I work from my phone a lot.
Yeah.
And so it's nice to go not have service, be quiet, just enjoy what's beautiful. Um, let's see. Definitely been getting into I'm trying to get more into cooking.
Ah.
Mostly because I love eating,
Oh, yeah.
but I really like baking and trying to like learn how to make, pretty things.
Oh, I fucking love that. How would you say you show yourself self-love? Like, how do you woo you?
So when I first got into the industry, I remember this girl telling me, another porn star, like when you have days off, you need to like it's all about you. It's all about self-care. And that was the first time I really thought about that because I'd been a
Mm,
workaholic just forever. I'd never really thought about self-care. And so now it kind of gave me the freedom to have days when I'm on or times where I'm on and I'm really working. But then when you turn it off, you really need to disconnect and take care of yourself and have that balance. And so for me, that definitely means, sometimes like definitely going outdoors,
yeah,
even if it's just sitting in my backyard, after a busy day.
for sure.
Um, and I value time where I can turn my brain off, where I can turn on the TV. I've just loved watching movies recently. I just watched Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind last week.
So good.
Anything like that, that's a good, mind trip. So yeah, just I like to, I want to always remember I'm a real person.
Yeah.
It's great. I love to play as a sex object. I really, really love it. But then also I still want, the full human experience like anyone else.
Totally. I totally feel that. It's so funny. I was hanging out with a lover recently and they were like, I don't want to objectify you. I know that you get objectified so much for work. And I was like, well, I I like I'm okay with being sexually objectified and like from you I would like to be sexually objectified. However, I just want to be a full person first. Like see me as a full person and then objectify me. If I'm only an
Yes.
object, then we're kind of backwards there. But like I'm like, yeah, just give it all to me. I want it all. See all of me. Yeah.
Show respect and humanity first, always, always, always. Like it's definitely, big turn off to me when someone definitely just leads with sex, especially on like first interactions
Mm.
or I don't know, even if I've just woken up in the morning, show me a little love first and then we can get there.
Yeah, I'm like, see me and then play with me, okay? Also, though, I think I am a person where I'm like, well, you can lead with sex, but like, tell me your sex stories for like, tell me the nerdy parts about your like sexual thoughts, hopes, goals, dreams, fear, like lead with that, and then we'll go from there. When someone's just like, here's what I think fantasies about you, I'm sort of like, well, okay, that's nice. Did you pay me on Sext Panther to say that or no? Okay.
Literally. I had a little tangent. In general, I've had like, great experiences with talents being very respectful on set.
Yeah.
But there was one time where, like I think me and the girl, we both walk in because there were two girls and two guys. And so one of the guys walks up like, hello, hello, like to our tits. Yeah, like so that's all. And this was, like definitely this was years ago. I
Yeah,
feel like
yeah.
confident thought that I think today I would just walk right off set.
Yeah.
Not as that. But let's not lead, always lead with consent,
Dude,
respect, not
what did you even do? I feel like I'd be like, hello, and like slap his cock. Like, I don't know. Like, I'm like, or knee him in the groin. I don't know. I'm like, hello, is this what we're doing? Okay. Like, what?
it's hard. And so I'm sure this comes into play in any job and not just in the porn industry, that there's always a balance, because of course you always want to stand up for yourself. Because in lots of customer service jobs that I had, there were times where I would have really liked to tell people off, and you're balancing when you need a job and when you need to work. And I would say, when I first got into the porn industry, that was like a little bit more how I felt. Like I really didn't want to lose opportunities.
Right.
And so that's where in general I like moves towards things like having like intimacy coordinators on set. I know like Mind Geek Brazzers start doing something like that. There should be someone who's just making sure that no one is stuck with their decision of having to defend themselves in that moment, because everyone's clear that consent is not optional.
Yeah, it's the basis of sexy things. On that note, how are you wooed by others? How do you like to receive love from other people?
So like I said, I love like having someone's like time, that they're willing to spend time with me, to be around me, and that they care enough to listen to the things that I have to say. Um, so I'm like I think intellectual conversation is that a funny thing, but like, I think that, but I really feel like we can talk, like I don't want to feel like there are topics that are too deep or scary. Like you said, like tell me the real thing, tell me the nerdy thing, tell me
Yeah.
the embarrassing thing, and it's only going to make me, more interested, not less. I like, because I've never been very comfortable with people spending money on me, which is kind of a funny thing doing sex work.
Okay. Oh, that's so has that shifted? I imagine you're healing that, right? Like now you're like, okay, give it, or is it still a thing?
In my personal relationship, I think I never wanted, I don't know, like I would rather like someone really like plan out a really amazing thing for us to go do together,
Mm,
and I don't care if it's expensive, like it can be like pretty much free, like maybe a picnic, and I would, be just as excited, be more excited. I'd feel comfortable about very expensive gifts.
okay. Yeah. I was gonna say, it sounds like maybe you just need more people who adore you to help you practice receiving expensiveness. I don't know. I'm just throwing out
I'll
ideas.
welcome that from the universe.
Yeah. You know?
I'll try to be open. But I do like that I feel that way, because I think sometimes the people that I interact with as far as clients appreciate that,
Yeah.
that they can tell that I'm like, okay, we both understand that this is like conditional consent. I've kind of heard that talked about with sex work.
Mm,
And in this case, it's money,
yeah.
and there is an exchange here. But also they know that I do like to keep it human. I
Yeah.
don't want to spend once we've decided things, and then I won't spend all my time trying to work you for more, because not fun.
Yeah. Yeah, no. I mean, it's a two-way street of hotness, and it's like I fucking love the clarity of just like, yep, here's what's happening, like here's what we're doing, and having a good reason is really a turn on, in my personal opinion.
I see that. I see that. I would say where I can see how it shows in this industry, like a lot of time it indicates how much they respect you,
Mm,
because it is saying something if they say I think you're worth this much versus this much sometimes. And
yeah, yeah,
so maybe to me that's the most important aspect of that, just to know that my time and what I do offer, that they see me and I see them.
yeah, totally. I totally relate to that. Also, it's like how much do they value themselves and their own pleasure? Like how much are they willing to have a next level experience? Because I know regardless of any industry, right? Like, even with like people who are like, I'd like to advertise on your podcast. I have $200 versus the people that will pay the actual rate, which is more in the thousands of dollars range. It's sort of just like, well, you don't care about it, doesn't matter, so it's I think that energy is really important. Any other things about like what makes you swoon or stuff that just like kind of makes you melt?
Yeah, I'm glad you said that, because I did forget to say confidence.
Mm,
I think is like my biggest, like the more I've thought about over the years, I think that's going to be the difference every time. Is I really do like someone who's confident in, like you said, in what they like, in seeking their own pleasure, and in like, trusting that they can listen and communicate with me and give me pleasure as well. I know sometimes there's the idea of like nice guys finish last, and I think it's because like people see that girls are attracted to confidence, or people are attracted to confidence, which sometimes there's a confidence that can be more like self-conceit. Obviously, where you don't see other people and you only see yourself. And I think it's easy to mistake the two sometimes. So sometimes you think you're seeing one and you realize it's the other.
yeah.
But in truth, I think nice people who are confident will finish first every time.
Absolutely. I have started identifying as a kind sexual. I'm like, are you going to be kind to me? Then we can get along. And I really think that there is a certain amount of confidence in a human being who can come to me and say, like, hey, I am insecure about this thing and I'd like you to help me learn about it. Or like, I want to try this thing, or like, I don't even know. And, so it's like, it's not like, oh, they have to know everything or like be in charge of everything, but like there's a confidence of a knowing their self or knowing oneself and being like, this is who I am, this is where I am, this is how I'd like to connect, and I totally also find that a turn on.
Because you need confidence to be honest about yourself, right? Because
Yes, yes.
confidence to admit you have weaknesses, because a lot of the times people who would never admit that are not the confident people.
Totally good point. Yeah, it is very opposite of the like bad boy, bad girl archetype where they like seem confident, but like now I know that so many people are trying to fake it till they make it. And I just didn't, for so long I was like taking everyone at face value and I was like, okay, you're like that. And then I would, finding out the
Why can't
difference.
you be so cool and like speak perfectly all the time? Like some people.
Okay, tell us now, when do you feel the most connected to other humans? You've given us some hints, but when do you feel the most connected and like what does it take to make a connection intimate for you?
When do I feel most connected to people? That's a good question. It's something I did like struggled with over
Yeah.
time in a way, with learning to be authentic. And so that is when I feel the most connected, is when I feel like there's that trust, that openness, that it's okay to be me. It's okay to say what I think.
Yeah.
The second half of that question, I'm so sorry.
Oh, and then just, I mean, for you, it's threading it into like, what do you need to feel connected enough to fuck, basically, and so maybe you work it into like work and personal. How you can also just make it all about work, whatever. But it's like the reason, whatever reason.
That's a really good question, because especially working as a courtesan, right? I don't like to just jump into things without having some mutual feeling of connection first. And of course, that is sometimes a two-way street. Everyone needs
Yeah.
to be open and trying. But I do think it is important to have, a little bit of that initial spark for everyone. And I've said a lot of times I don't consider that I have a very specific type. And so I just think with everyone, it kind of just takes me a minute to see, like, what am I into about you?
Yeah.
Do you make me laugh? Do you have a nice laugh? Do I like the way you look in my eyes? Like just those very small things,
Hmm.
and take it's eye contact. I think like it's important, right? It's
Totally.
something that I struggled with a lot in my life.
Mm.
But especially or does having that face to face, we see each other, we're two humans, right, coming to an agreement and hopefully enjoying each other today.
Yeah,
But
yeah. I
so it's like, that's something I don't want to work with a wall.
totally, right? Both directions. And it's also like, I'm hearing very human answers there. It's like, can I see you? Can we laugh? Can we have basic levels of fun? For me, sometimes it's like, do you smell right to me? Like that's what I always say if someone's like, I want to see you, I want to get to know you. I'm like, all right, well, we'll meet up in person. We'll see if our animal bodies like the way each other smell, and it's such a subconscious pheromonal thing, but it's like, it's so real. In my early years, I did one time fuck a guy he was really nice, he was hot, it was but he smelled wrong to me. And at first I was like, oh, I think it's like his soap or his cologne. And then I saw him again. I was like, no, this smell just is not my smell. Like, and I don't even have a good sense of smell. So anyway, um,
Sometimes it's like that. And like, though I will say of course we'll say nothing specific, but there was one performer I worked with where I remember one day out, and I know he'd showered right before the scene, but there was a smell and I couldn't do it. But then I think like a year or two later I worked with him and he smelled great. So,
yeah, I mean, diet
you
makes a
never know, I
difference.
guess.
No, like processed food diets, lots of alcohol, like poor diets and overall general health, or like lots of like it can like make smells come out of pores, depending on what the hygiene levels are like. And it has nothing to do necessarily with showers. They're like literal inner deeper layers.
So
Um
maybe come back in a month or two, if not today. No.
yeah. You're
Yeah,
like,
things like I don't tend to like when I'm faced like in person, of course, if there's a turn off like that, it's something I don't think about beforehand. I think until I'm faced with it. Like I don't worry that someone won't smell good or anything like that. Because in general, I don't know, like I basically all of my clients, right, shower before we interact
yeah.
anyways, and that's typically good enough for me.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, and also like again, if the vibe is there, if it's not yeah, if it's good, it's good. If it's not, it's a very clear no thank you. Thank you, someone different, please.
Yes.
Okay, so Before we get into like sexy details, I would love to talk about your health and safety practices. So, you are a performer, you are a professional. What do you need health and safety wise to feel safe? And then, like in your personal life, what do you need to feel safe? Like, what's that landscape like for you? Tell us about testing practices. Tell us about all things safety related for you.
Definitely testing first. Testing. Yeah. It's something that was important to me before I got in the industry, but I would say actually like the advice that I got from my doctors initially wasn't actually as good as like the protocols I've now learned to follow.
Wait, really?
Where
Can
I
you say
think,
more?
okay, I'm like, it's almost like embarrassing, but like when I would go in and I would let my doctor know, and I'm from Utah, I was Mormon, I was pretty
Yeah.
naive,
Yeah.
and I would let them know that I was sexually active, and they would tell me I needed like a chlamydia and gonorrhea panel.
Hmm.
Which, okay, yes, but
That's
now I know you
all?
need a full
Like,
panel.
that's a good
Yeah,
start, but oh,
start. And so, and again, like this is like I'm gonna say like multiple times of me going to the doctor, and again, like coming from very much like not a sexually educated background, I just know I should listen to doctors, right? And I did, of course, over time, do more of my own research, and I'm happy, of course, maybe had some luck there, and of course, I've been very, very, very safe for many years now. But yeah, like that's crazy to me. I don't
wow.
know. I can't even understand that because I think anyone who is having sex, and I mean, especially unprotected, but anyone who's having sex, you should be getting full panels routinely. Like, I mean, definitely in between partners. If you're monogamous, I don't know, as often as possible, right? Just to be sure.
Yeah.
And it's also there's been more attention drawn to swabs in the industry. And so that's like for like throat and rectal swabs. That's mandatory now, where it wasn't when I started in the industry. So
Okay.
I love seeing moves towards safety,
Me too.
because now I've actually had the chance to like talk to them with a lot of other people because they don't understand sometimes why you would use a condom for oral sex. And it's like, actually,
Yeah.
you want to do this because like we think that a blood test will always be sufficient, but it's not.
Yeah.
So this is like the least sexy spiel that I go off on too often, but it's just so important. Like, of course, we want to have fun in the moment. Everyone wants to have the maximum pleasure, but it's never ever going to be worth, yeah, compromising anyone's safety.
Totally. Well, I also have learned from talking to people over all of these years that like people have the sexiest experiences when they feel safe. And so for me, knowing that like our sexual health and safety is like that's step one, right? Knowing that that's all good.
Yeah, exactly. Like that I'm free to enjoy myself because where like in the mainstream porn industry they typically don't use condoms, that can be, it's kind of because they, when people are using maximum safety, it's kind of a perk to like get to have, you know, all that sex with those people. Like I'm actually, I really enjoy it getting to do that and getting to portray something that at least looks more real on camera.
Yeah.
you know but that being said, I'm definitely not against like the use of condoms in porn to normalize that. I think it should absolutely, like, no one should feel like if that's something that makes them more comfortable, they should be able to do that.
Mm.
But I feel like, yeah, when people are exercising safety, you can have a lot of fun. But safety first.
Yeah. Yeah.
uh, let's see other things. Oh, because you were talking about before about the importance, like what you eat and everything. That I think, like, basically since I first started adult modeling, a whole like turnaround on how I thought about what I put into my body and how I take
Okay.
care of myself, what you can handle. Because I, just realized really quickly that if I wasn't taking care of myself, eating healthy, sleeping well, all kinds of things, like I could see it on camera, right? Like you're
Mm.
seeing where you're not like your glowing, radiant self. And that was interesting to see portrayed back at me. And even more than wanting to look good, I want to feel good. And I found that the
Yes.
more I've made a lot of dietary changes and things like taking probiotics, things like that, I feel better, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And so that's great to feel better from the inside.
Totally. Do you also notice a difference in your energy levels, like your actual ability to fuck?
Oh yeah. I think back to my first scene sometimes, how like tired I would get after like 2 minutes on top, and I'm a little embarrassed. I do camming now. I'm like, so I've had lots and lots and lots of practice spending, taking my time on top, and I enjoy getting a workout while I work. I used to be a waitress, and I used to say I like that too. That I was always
Oh yeah.
running around the restaurant, so at least you're not like
Totally.
sedentary.
Oh no, I was a cocktail server and like as soon as I turned 21, I was like, "Oh, I'm gonna save money. I'm gonna work at a bar." And looking back, I'm like, That was my gateway drug. I loved dressing slutty to get tips. And I loved, even before I was a bartender. So, like, behind the bar, I definitely dressed even sluttier because people can't, like, touch you or grab you. But, like, when I was out in the crowd, I was like, I realized that I loved like squishing through people and like grabbing hips and like touching people to move them because it would be really crowded. And I finally was like, oh my God, I'm a creepy pervert. Like I am the weird one. Like, and then I did a whole experiment where I tried to like creep people out and be pervy and it didn't work. Like people were just like, you're so friendly. Would you like to get a drink? And I was just like, okay.
But it doesn't even work.
Yeah.
They just think you're flirting.
Yeah, but it's totally good exercise. Like totally good exercise, like running around all night. So before we get into all details, could you just give us an overview of like all of the types of sex related work that you do?
Yes. I mean, honestly, it's my whole life, like, and I'm trying to work a balance lately, so everything has its time.
I love it. No, I'm like all sex things all the time. I want to think about sex. I want to learn about sex. I want to do sex. I want to have sex. Yeah, okay, but there's no judgment here. This is a open-minded. If it's illegal and consensual, I'm gonna celebrate your yums.
Perfect. So, I tend to always say porn star first, but that is actually getting a little funny because now I think I'm coming up on like 2.5 years since I last shot professional porn. I do fully intend to get back to that, and I think that's why I think that because I don't consider my career over. I just wanted to like lay some better foundations for myself and my brand before giving all that energy to mainstream.
Fuck yeah.
Um, so, and then also when I decided to take that break, I had just decided to start working at Sheri's Ranch, and the time it just kind of felt right. Like I was ready to focus on something else. I was a little tired of traveling all the time. I'm a Nevada resident, and so it's nice to be closer and not drive over to Los Angeles constantly and all that.
Mhm.
Yeah. So then I went to Sheri's Ranch, where I've been, yeah, had a great. It's been really great to get more in touch with just the feelings, the sensations that you talk about, like, and not just the performance for the camera. So more about what's real. But this entire time, basically what I've been doing since right before I started porn and ever since, I spent a lot of my time working online. So I use Sex Panther, OnlyFans, ManyVids, and most recently Chatterbait. So I make content, I do sexting sessions, I make custom videos, custom everything you can think of in between. I mean, I'm very flexible and I'm very like open to having like, doing like different things day to day. And so that's been a good fit for me there. I think that's the gist of it. I mean, I
Wait,
think,
you
yeah.
said camming. Which platforms do you cam on? Is that OnlyFans and Chatterbait or are there different ones?
Yes. So through Chatterbait. And so I'm doing couples camming. So with my partner, who I have get permission to talk about on this podcast, but that is Randy Rod is his stage name, and it's something we thought about doing for a while and didn't have like felt like it took a while to get where we both had the space we wanted, the time we wanted, all of that to like dive into it. But that's been fun.
Sounds
Like, I
fun. Yeah,
mean,
tell us about it. Like
to
dive
fuck my
like
partner for money.
that's so fun. I love that.
Yes. Yeah, we've been doing. So it's only been like 3 months, I would say, that I've been doing it, really regularly, and I've still been taking some time off to go to Sherry's Ranch, so that it'd be a little less frequent soon. But yeah, I mean, it's basically like we, just come with different ways to tease our way into our fuck show. Came up with like a whole different menu for all the things people can have once we're in there. Should we get rough, talk dirty, use specific toys, all that. Yeah, and I mean, it's been like we've never had so much sex together, in all these years, and I've always thought we had a lot of sex, but it's a lot. And I really like it because everyone has different ideas. We're
Yeah.
trying new things, come shots at all kinds of different places.
Oh my God, I love that so much because like I love bringing my creativity to a connection with a lover. I love experiencing their creativity, but I am big into like triangulation or whatever, more angulation, like just having additional input, like that energy exchange for me takes it to the next level. That's so cool.
You realize because you get stuck in your ways of thinking sometimes. I think I'm very prone to that. I can be a very independent person work wise, which
Yeah.
is maybe why it took me a while to be open to the idea. But I'm realizing more and more I do. I love the collaboration. I love when we each have ideas and we see it flourish. That sounds cheesy, but
Yeah.
it's just, yeah, really great to have like success together, and that's been really fun because he's been just endlessly supportive of me like through my entire career. it's hard for a lot of people to imagine as I've like shot all these porn scenes and done everything else. And I mean, I just, yeah, can't describe what a like supportive, amazing human being he is. So it's exciting to get to work together now.
Oh my gosh, that's so yummy. I would love for you to tell us now how you learned about sex by taking us through your personal sexual timeline, like hitting whatever formative experiences feel relevant and then, yeah, how did you get to do the work that you're doing today? What did you learn about sex along the way? Maybe starting with when do you first remember like hearing or understanding the concept of sex?
Oh, that's just almost too funny to think about. I have to think, so far back to, like some kid on the playground, like
Yeah.
something about bodies mashing together. I think for a lot of years that was like the extent. I remember trying to find Britney Spears sex tape at some point. I don't think I was successful. I think it was just like I don't think it was a video of anything. um, okay. So let's see, because I would say that's like the first thing is first I was just interested in nudity, right? I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, so what's that?
Yeah.
Um, and so I'd say that was the focus. And then like kissing, like I like on YouTube, they used to have those videos like where you could find like all like these schoolgirls kissing or something. Like
Okay.
that was totally my thing. Like I just wanted like deep tongue, messy. I would just like watch girls kiss. Like that I think is kind of like the first. It took me a while, and like I think even though like my religion pushed me to be straight, I think I
Yeah.
also was like scared of like penises at the beginning.
Okay.
Um, but then like I would say then as I like had relationships with guys over time, that's yeah, became not scary.
Yeah.
Um, I feel like I had very healthy relationships as a teenager, which I feel really lucky about.
Yeah.
Especially when it comes to sexuality wise. I don't know if everything was like always great emotionally or anything like that, but like respect, being treated well, people, cared about taking time to find out what I liked. That was something I experienced really early on. And so then as I went off to college, I would say like then like there was like a backslide in my experiences.
Oh wow.
Almost like it was like harder. I don't know if you experienced it. It was like harder to find those respectful people. Um, and so I think that was like really like why I dated around a lot because I kind of knew what it was like to have good sexual experiences. And I was really, yeah, like seeking more of that, seeking more of that, seeking more of that
Yeah.
uh, till I finally found my partner. And yeah, Randy also comes from a Mormon background, and that's fine to share. But so that was something that we bonded over, that we both had a similar kind of experience in discovering our sexuality, being okay with talking about things like masturbating or, anything like that you do on your own or like people. And then, so it's funny because I like at one point never would have considered like doing nude modeling or anything like that.
Uh,
It was definitely, as far as the shame meter, I wasn't ready to be naked yet, like in
yeah.
front of everyone.
Same. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's like funny to even think what that process was because first I was like, I was open, but like I didn't want anyone to like know it was me, And so I would post. I started on Reddit, posting. I just first built up a profile there, posting nudes where I would show like from like the lips down or something like that. So yeah, I just didn't show my whole face. And that obviously, was getting to be more and more fun, was starting to get more comfortable. And then a company reached out to me. They're called Abby Winters. And they wanted me to do a solo shoot in Los Angeles. And it's actually an offer that, like, now I kind of know you never get. Like, they flew me there. Eventually, they down the line, they shot my partner together and they paid for the testing. Like, things like that aren't very
Okay.
common. But they sent me like ahead of time, like here is every single post that would be expected of you. Here's every single thing. Like it was so much information that I was like, okay, I think this is okay. I think this isn't like scary. And I think it was also a site that I had never heard of, and it didn't necessarily feel like I would be on the front page of Pornhub the next day or anything like
Yeah. Yeah.
that. But it's supposed to get so introductory. So I tried that out, and that was solo work. And I was shocked how much I enjoyed it. Like the sexual
Really?
part. Okay. Because talking on camera, that took us all day to like just get interview questions. I used to be very uncomfortable talking to a
Mm-hmm.
camera.
Mm-hmm.
But once we got to the sexual part, where we filmed various scenes, me using different toys, when we're doing like I never it was like edging, basically like
Oh
to do all the
yeah,
photos and get this shot and this shot and this shot. I'd like never, you know.
I do.
And it, so I yeah was just surprisingly thrilled to do that, and my partner all along the way always encouraged like hello like you like just telling me like she makes me about my body. I didn't think that like people who didn't have like big boobs could do porn like that.
Right, right. Oh wow.
No, these crazy ideas you have in like your early 20s or late
Yeah.
teens, but
We don't know until we know.
you don't know until you know that people like everything and everything in between. So, but yeah, and so at that point, that was when I started trying to figure out how I could do more of that. Was very interested in like I figured if I'm going to do this, if I'm going to put my face out there, I'd like to go all the way, like create a real brand, something I'm really like proud of and excited about. And so I ended up going out to Florida and starting there right before COVID. So some unfortunate timing.
Oh my gosh, I didn't realize this was part of your timeline. Whoa.
Yes,
Okay.
immediately after. So I shot a couple scenes in Florida, had a great time, and I go back to Utah. I tell my partner we're moving to Florida. Um, because, I mean, it's snowing back in Utah. I like, when I was like FaceTiming, from the ocean, like, we're moving.
Yeah.
But so I went back, we came back, and then I went to do my first round of shoots out in Los Angeles because people usually shoot on both coasts. And while I was out there, yeah, was the shutdown. So they canceled, like they were not shooting any porn. Like they told everyone to go home. I was very disappointed. Obviously it was just getting started. I just moved. And that's like where I talk about at the beginning, having some of those experiences where I didn't feel like I had so much power
Mm,
because the pandemic did make some things a lot less certain.
yeah.
And as soon as that lifted, I was like, get me on set. Like, give me any job any job you can get me. As soon as they had COVID tests, it really, really, started. And I think a lot of successful talents were still waiting to go back, obviously trying to protect themselves.
Yeah.
And a lot of new girls like me, like really trying to make a name for themselves. Like I was just, just ready to pick up like any offer that came my way. And I really like appreciate that time because that was just a big lots and lots and lots of learning about how to take care of myself, what I enjoyed. It's like almost like crazy to think about because so many, a crazy couple of years shooting lots and lots of porn, which is why ultimately I was ready for a break.
Yeah.
But I think it was just great for me to meet people who were so confident in their sexuality, and especially women who were very confident in their sexuality because that's not very common where I come from in Utah. I hope it's getting better. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
Yeah.
and I've definitely experienced this at Sheri's too. But yeah, the first time, like when I would do girl scenes and having like a girl just so confidently, approach my body and like, like do things that feel so good. Like that was, I had always wanted to have experiences with women. And that was something I had never been able to organically like make happen.
Yeah.
So that was a really, really big plus for me. Just like really getting to fully explore that. And that's, I mean, continuously. I have an open relationship, and so it's been great that I don't feel limited or like I can't, I don't know, pursue things that interest me or people that interest me.
I totally, totally relate to that. Also, for me, it's like when I have a partner who is fully supportive. I mean, I am also non-monogamous, and so it's like I need someone who not only like I don't want a tolerator. I want someone who's like, yeah, babe, go get it. You do what you need to do. I'll be right here. Like that's where I'm like, yes.
Enthusiastic consent. I like that word, because like you don't just like you have to if you must if well and because my partner's been so enthusiastic for me, Randy fully plans to shoot porn himself, and I'm excited to have a lot of opportunities to show him that same enthusiasm, to allow him have his fun, make his money, like because I think it's a great industry. Like, it's a really cool thing to be able to do.
Oh, so exciting. Okay. I love this overview. Can we go back to formative experiences? You talked about abstinence education that you got originally, it sounds like, or like waiting until marriage. Did you ever get a sex talk beyond that? Or was it just like, no, wait, like, were there any resources for like, and once you do get married, here's how to do sex, or like, here's what you need to know? Like, was there any of that?
No, like basically it's gonna sound so bad. I'm like, I was a kid, like going like Yahoo Answers, trying to like get some of these questions of like, of course, like some of the worst places in the world to find information, but that's where there's, people who can answer your questions. And I would say like in school, it wasn't, I think this is pretty common in the US. It wasn't like too much past like the bodily functions of things. Like you, right, you get like diagrams of the body parts. That's so different from
Yeah.
teaching you, right?
Oh, yeah.
And so I'll just say there was a relative of mine, who basically it was like their wedding night, and they're still like, I don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. And I come out with Breaking Dawn, like the last Twilight book, like, well, this is everything I know. This is what I know. And it cuts out, it blacks out before they have sex.
Oh, really?
So,
Okay. Wow. Oh, wow. Oh.
and then I started to learn when I started like being braver to watch more porn, and when I, of course, experimented with actual partners. But even I might have every embarrassing story today. No, but when I did finally lose my virginity, my partner was in the same boat as me, right? They had never had sex either. And it like I think it took us like it was our third try, like on a third separate day before we figured out how to do
How to do it. Wow. How old were you?
16.
Okay.
Yep. And so
Wow.
that's why sometimes people I know feel self-conscious when they come to the ranch, like not knowing about things, and especially if it's your first time or something like that. And everyone's been there,
Yeah, we
at some
don't
point.
know until we know. It's like such a thing. Okay, so you did have sex in your teen years. It's so funny because I heard you talk about the kind of contrast between like the good experiences you had formatively and then college, whereas I was a different sort of ignorant in my own little farm girl way. Like, I just didn't even know, like, I knew people were having sex in high school, but I was like, "Oh, they're naughty." Even though I wasn't that religious, I was just like, "I'm not supposed to yet," or like it sort of didn't click in that I could. But I wish I had I mean, because I was so horny. I just remember, like, looking back, I'm like, "Oh my God, like the sex ed that I got did not come with any references to social signals or any of the social aspects of sex." So that's why, like, for the rest of my life, I'm like filling in the emotional context for all of the sexual, physical, intimate acts, and that is my kind of like obsession. But it's like I was in the space of just getting rejected a lot in college, in early college.
Hard to imagine. But
Four times, four
but maybe
times.
the difference there, because I would say like this basically I kind of had to just intuitively learn about sex. And so that
Right.
basically is you're only relying on social signals, which is important, but I would say also so is education and boundaries and lots
Totally.
of other things.
Totally. And I did have a Swedish exchange student who had had sex when she was 15 and I was, 16 by the time she was staying with us. So she had like experience and I was like, "What about this? What about that? What about that?" And I just remember like, kind of peppering anyone I knew who was having sex with so many questions. Did you have any peers or friends that you could talk about sex with, or was it just with partners? And did you have like social backlash feelings? Like, what was that part of your landscape like?
So even like as you were just saying before you finished the question, I was already thinking about how I couldn't talk to anyone, not one of my friends,
Oh,
about how I
oh,
had lost my and like even before that, because I had a couple boyfriends where we had done sexual things,
yeah.
and then I had my final boyfriend in high school where we had like penetrative sex. I don't want to take away because also I don't want to like define virginity any particular way,
Totally. Good point. And also, like,
but
I was giving blowjobs long before I realized it was oral sex, and I was like, really? Huh.
I think I was fooling myself at the beginning religiously. This doesn't count. We're just I don't know. We're just doing okay. I
Yeah.
knew you. I knew
Okay,
it.
you
I
do.
knew we were like the no-no zone.
Yeah, so how did that feel? You couldn't tell anyone that you'd had sex? Oh,
No one.
damn.
And I remember at the very like it was like towards the end of my senior year, this girl that I'd known, she like finally like admits to me some story where she like yeah been sexual with someone. I'm like I can tell someone. I can like open up right now, like because I just spent like so much time with like my best friends, and it's crazy to think about now because but it's so and the point is it's not like it's because you really do know in Mormon culture how it's going to go. They can't accept it. They're supposed to start trying to help you. They might even go talk to your parents or
Oh,
like your religious leaders. Like it goes further than just like, will my friends accept me for this? More like, will there like the actual repercussions?
Dang.
And eventually that actually got to me, and I like went to like my bishop and told on myself. So, because I don't know, and I also, because right when at the same time I broke up with my boyfriend because I'm like, we're never going to stop having sex, and he won't serve his Mormon mission. I'll keep him from
Oh,
God's duty. So this is like the initial
yeah,
how I
yeah.
used to think about stuff.
Wait, what happened when you told your bishop too? Like what did they say?
So actually, as far as like I've heard other people have had, worse experiences than me. While I wouldn't say that I'm comfortable with the idea that I talked to like a grown man about my sex life as a teenager,
Good
he was
point. Okay,
he
yeah.
was as much like a respectful clergy member as he could have been, I guess. He, I think, asked how many times, like how many times did this happen? And I think back through my 11-month relationship, I think like 9 months of that. I don't know how many times. Anytime we could sneak away,
Yeah.
but and so let's see, because basically you have to stop taking the sacrament, your like communion, right? So you can't take that every Sunday. You can't like give prayers or talks in church. You can't like go up to the pulpit because their members get to do that. And let's see, he told me. I remember he told me it was like my choice whether or not I told my future husband when I asked, but I should tell my parents. And so I went home and told my parents. And I wished I hadn't. I mean, like, it wasn't like anything like bad happened, just lots of disappointment, right?
Yeah. Wow.
And then eventually, when I went to college, the further I got from the influence of all of it, I think I just kept shaking it off and realizing, like, it's okay to be yourself. Like, you can keep trying to push yourself down and you're going to keep coming back out.
Damn. It sounds when I hear you talk like there is also like there's this part of you that was kind of like religiously shamed? How, I don't know what to call that. Like there was like the
Yeah.
religious discomfort part, but it also sounds like there was this other part of you that was really clear about your pleasure or like the connection. Like, am I getting that right? Like, what was the actual like physical experience and like connection like with your partners?
I was like recently talking about how when you're within a cult, which is what I consider this, you tend to have there's a cult persona, but you still have your real identity. There's the mold that they've tried to push you into, and then there's the things about yourself that you just know are true.
Yeah.
And so, like I said, like initially, I'm like, I was very interested in looking for sexy pictures and videos of girls, like, and I would try to like avoid doing that for a long time. I didn't even have like a concept of lesbians for a long
Yeah.
time. Like when I,
Yeah.
no, this was not discussed. Um, and so that, obviously led to just, I had, some solo exploration, but I would say it was my first boyfriend where, because I don't know if I ever had an orgasm until then. And that, I remember afterwards, sometimes I was like mad. I'm like, oh, like he showed me what orgasms feel like. And now I like want more of this, trying to like make it work with my like religious brain. And so, because I was like, oh, now I'm just going to keep wanting more. That was pretty much true. And then, and yeah, and it was basically just no matter how much I like knew I wasn't supposed to do things. It's just like you said, I still knew what I wanted and really, really enjoyed it. And that was just, it was something that was for me. And maybe that's something that when you do grow up in an environment like that, because I think sometimes people are prone, like, sometimes I think people from like Mormon society go overboard with things sometimes. Maybe I went a little overboard even. I always wanted to be making out or doing it,
Yeah.
exploring. Because like when you do finally find something that's yours, you want to go all into that. And I
Yeah.
think I've like learned some healthy balances. I see things, it's not so taboo anymore, but that doesn't make it less fun.
Yeah. Yeah.
But initially the taboo-ness I think did make it very enjoyable.
I mean, there really is a human thing where when someone says don't do that, there's a part of me that's like, there's a rule, so I should do it, right? Like I could,
Why not? What happens
yeah.
if
I'm like, what? Yeah, what happens if I push the big red button? It's like totally, totally hear that. As you reflect on your earlier sexual experiences, like knowing what you know now about sex, like are there any funny reflections or just like technique, like I don't know, how has your understanding of pleasure changed over the years? That's kind of an esoteric question, but I'm just like having this flash of like now you and then you and just the actual sex that's happening, and I'm curious about what, if anything, feels different to current you.
Yeah, because the first answer that comes to my mind is almost unserious. I'm like, I do not really enjoy having sex or doing anything sexual in cars anymore. Because
Really?
back then, it's like half the time the only place you could go is a car. And I'm like, oh, I sure like my jaw getting so like sore from the angle of like going over the passengers, like the thing in the middle to the passengers. Oh, just sore, 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 sore. But in general, just things like that, though. I think when I was younger, if something like was bothering me or not totally pleasurable, I just sort of let it slide because you don't want to be uncool, maybe, right? Like you're trying to be
Mm,
adult, when you're not quite adult yet. And now especially, with partners and when it's not for the camera and things like that, or even when it is for the camera, definitely within reason. But
yeah,
if I want to switch things up, if this location or this position or this isn't doing it for me or this about you is not working right now, I'm going to say because I don't, like
for sure.
waste my time sounds weird, but like yeah, like it's just like when you're having sexual experiences, everyone should be getting everything out of it. It should always be basically like an even exchange.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And now I have the tools and the communication to prioritize my pleasure and make sure my partner is on the same page and all of that. I totally feel that. Is there anything to say about your learning experiences through the like not so good college years? Like, were there good experiences in there, or were there things where you were like, fuck that? Like what and when did you leave the church? Like, where in your evolution did that happen?
Okay. So I left the church, I would say basically like, okay, for the first time at 18, and then I had a bad first year at college, basically, like emotionally,
Yeah.
and I panicked and came back, and that only lasted a few months. Like, so when
Okay.
I was 19, I came back for a few months, started trying to go through that repentance process again with the bishop, and then I ran away again. And
Okay.
eventually I've had my records fully removed. I'm not associated, and that makes me very
Nice.
happy.
Yeah.
But as far as my experiences, I do think this is good to talk about because so I was saying, oh, I forgot to mention because ties in earlier, I forgot to mention about like safety practices aftercare.
Mm.
Because I like some power play, I like to get kinky, I like to be objectified. But like when we're done playing, I very much like to feel human. Like I want, maybe cuddled, or I actually might just want to be left alone for a few minutes while you go
Mm.
get me tea or
Yes.
something like those, like that feeling where you do know at the end of the day that you're valued. And so when I got into college, I think I was fully okay with like I don't know, like hookup cultures, like but like I was pretty like okay with that.
Yeah.
I was excited to meet lots of people. I knew I didn't want to settle down and get married or anything like that very quickly. Honestly, anyway, at least
Same.
I like settled down in a way faster than I thought. But
Well,
so
but I think there's a difference. I do think there's a difference between like getting surprised and staying with a partner who you care about versus like I am trying to settle down and have partnership for the rest of my life. Like there are different modes, you know?
exactly. And so I was very much in the mode, again, like coming out of Mormonism, just thinking I'm going to learn about the real world. What are normal people like who don't come from my culture? Things like that. But I'll say like I think I was pretty disappointed like a lot of the time in like how much they treated me like another human when I'd meet people and like the first interaction. We find enough, right? Find enough for a hookup, right? Everything's fine enough for a hookup. But I just felt like there was just a lot of disrespect, a lot of like selfish lovers out there, people who want to just like after it's like, all right, like I'm going to the gym and like literally take right out the door. I think
Yeah.
even in a hookup, you should take a little bit of time to just like be like after you were just intimate with someone, unless you're like on the same page that neither of you wants.
I think casual sex culture is so like toxic and potentially abusive and it just creates these really weird dehumanization pattern. So sometimes when people are like, "Oh, you like sex work? What do you mean you like it? You chose it? You're not desperate?" I'm like, "It's the best thing in the world." And they're like, "Why?" And then I'm like, "Well, casual dating is trash." Like casual dating is like where I got abused. Casual dating is where I got assaulted. Like no, dehumanizing. Like and the way that I do sex work now, it's completely different. Like I'm worshipped, I'm valued, I'm appreciated, and it's very clear when someone wants to be there. So it's like I feel that. I feel that so hard.
Like it's on your terms now. At any point, you're like, oh, this is not an interact. Like at Sherry's Ranch, I feel so 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 confident. yeah, I'll never share anything very specific. But there was just only one time, where someone had put it was a safety thing, right?
Mm,
There was a safety thing. And immediately that issue was taken care of. I did not need to meet with this person again, right? They
yeah,
won't be at the facility, yeah, things like that. And so the more that you have that feeling of safety, you can actually have fun and connect with a lot of
yes,
people. But it's great to have that first. It's really hard to have that first alone. And as like a single woman, I think too many women like should not, which they should not, right, but have had experiences like yours and like mine too, where you're just going out trying to have fun. And yeah, people, I mean, you're met with, yeah, violence and
yeah,
just where it's like, wow, like I'm literally just like open and ready to have sex with you, right? And they still can't like treat you well. And
yeah, yeah, totally. I'm like, yeah, no,
most of my experiences, and I'm of course like I'm sure this was not like 100%, but that very much felt like the trend. It felt the same way, and it's too bad because I think that there's a world in which casual sex could be, pretty much like fine, like because like you said, it's like it's okay to be in that mode where you just want to explore and learn what you like. There's people I've enjoyed hooking up with that I don't think we would have any kind of life together,
for
but
sure.
like everyone enjoyed what it was. And so, yeah, I want more of that. Just like, yeah, would love it if, especially, more men, because I haven't, had experiences really so far with women being predatory. So if
Yeah.
men could step it up.
I also love that, like, younger you, even with all of the interesting messages that you were getting through the church, I love that younger you still had this idea of what you deserve, and the type of treatment that like is and I in college did not have the same sort of base. Like I knew I deserved good things, but I didn't know how to like mechanically make sure that I was getting good things. I didn't understand anything about like choosing partners or like signs to look for because that just wasn't what my brain had studied socially.
Yeah. It
I
helps have like templates of like
Yes.
past relationships or or like when I had a friend who didn't have like who talked to me once about how they really like didn't have any kind of father figure and they felt like they were out kind of trying to look at what does a good man look like and they kind of felt like they didn't know, they hadn't seen it modeled. And so,
Yeah.
and I think that can be in various ways that you can see that. But
Totally. Like I have a great dad. He is loving, he's kind, he's generous, he's funny, he's silly. And when I definitely remember being like very, very young with a childhood best friend and we were like, are we gonna find guys as good as our dads? And that was long before I knew that I was bisexual and
that's an amazing.
polyamorous. Yeah. And then out in the world, I'm like, oh, I guess people just, well, I don't know. They're not like that. Like I was like looking, I was open, but I like wasn't finding or I wasn't doing behaviors to elicit that type of interaction. You mentioned women, and it sounds like you've had good experiences with women. When did you identify, like it sounds like you knew you were attracted to them, or at least some part of you, but like when did you start to identify as bisexual and tell us about your queer parts?
Yeah. So again, it's like it sounds funny because forever that's like the first thing that I would search for is like I was interested in sexy ladies, and yet, yeah, no, no. But and eventually, I heard down the line that there's straight women who love watching lesbian porn. I'm like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
So I'm a straight. Fine. I'm straight. I have my own thoughts on that now. But
Mm-hmm.
so, but let's see. I feel like when I was 20, I went on. This is the first time I can remember like knowing it because maybe it was a little bit before. But when I was 20, I went on a trip to Europe, and I was with a tour group, and I have my Tinder on, right? Hoping to meet some like sexy Europeans. I'm out there. A little wilder back then, and I remember like I had opened it up to girls because I was finally I think admitting to myself like I think I would like this to not just be on the computer. I think I would actually like to physically interact with the girl. I think I was starting to identify crushes I had had previously in my life. And but I remember so there was a girl in my group who was lesbian and she like showed everyone in the group that I was like available to girls, but they were all like she's like pretending to be like I don't it was like the weirdest thing, like they were trying to say like I was like a fake bisexual, I was just for the trip, just while she's here, it's like disrespectful to real lesbians, like
Oh
and I'm like,
man.
I didn't think everyone would know, and I'm just like, I'm still too even like I can't even talk about it yet. So
Wow.
that was a big I'm like, "Oh no," I'm like, "Maybe I can't date girls." Like,
Yeah.
that was a bit of like a confidence hit for sure. And I met my partner pretty soon after this, right? And then it wasn't like until I was when I started the adult industry that I started to have opportunities on and off camera. Um, now that I met like a lot more sexually open women. But I think, yeah, like if that hadn't happened, things had happened a little differently.
Yeah.
I could see myself having realized sooner, having tried more seriously. I did try a little bit too when I got back to Utah to meet some girls. And it was like that thing where every single time you start talking to a girl, she actually has a boyfriend. And I like I really wanted, like, I'm like, no, I know about guys. Like, I'm really trying to figure out about this, like,
Yeah.
outside of it, without any other guy's interests or what he wants, or that he convinced his girlfriend to have a threesome or something like that. So that's really, yeah, everything that just stopped me. But I very much, yeah, been interested for a long time.
Wow. When did you start exploring non-monogamy? Because it sounds like you weren't raised non-monogamous.
No, I mean, Mormons have their reputation, but yeah, my family was very, very, very
That's
monogamous. The
true.
mainstream Mormon church is.
That's true.
Um, but there is a reputation also, though, that everyone leaves the Mormon church and becomes swingers. I don't know why.
We really, that's so
But they,
funny.
they all open their relationships, so we're like stereotypes. But because basically that was right before I started to shoot porn. I remember we're like, do we want to like try to like meet another couple? Do we want to we'd already like, because we kind of had the discussion like, if you like interacted with someone and you wanted to like try something out, I wouldn't hold that against you. Like I would want that for you. It started like that. And so then, and it didn't end up like, I remember there was like a couple we were maybe going to do a double date with, and that didn't end up working out. But then I think that was like an important line to cross, because then that opened the world of sex work, which I had never even considered before. But because we already knew that we were comfortable with the idea of having, let's see, extramarital, whatever. Yeah.
Yeah.
That sounds so funny. But yeah, we were both okay with it. And so that, made it pretty seamless getting into it. A little bit of growing pains of getting used
Yeah.
to sometimes, like if he's, but mostly on his end, right? So say like I'm at a shoot, and at the beginning him kind of sitting with like, oh, like what's she doing all day? How's it going? And to like very much his credit, was always worried about my safety. Just
Mm,
like was so worried someone wouldn't treat me well, that just worried if he hadn't heard from me, is everything okay? Should, like, and I really appreciate that support. It's been like honestly amazing to have in this industry.
I love that. And when did you start exploring power exchange? Like you mentioned a little bit about aftercare and kind of what you like, but like, how did you learn about it? And then how did you start exploring it your own self?
So I mean, almost as far back as I can remember, I was into like telling guys to like choke me or slap me, and it's just funny because I'm not like a super like physically adventurous person all the time, but I think I just like the way it like takes me out of myself, and so yeah, first things like that, and then with my, let's see, both with my current partner, so both I'd say on and off camera. In more recent years, I've been able to explore that further. I remember I did one shoot. Like, I don't necessarily know that I would recommend. Like, I had a good experience, but I hear things about the site Hobie Buchanan. But I remember for me, that was like kind of like I was like, can I go do a shoot that's like really, really, really rough? I was like, I was like nervous, but I also I think wanted to like prove to myself. And I remember I had so like I just really, really liked it. I really liked being in that headspace. Like I am very independent and need to control things a lot of the time.
Yeah.
So then it does feel good to have someone take over.
Hmm.
Sometimes I try it the other way too, but I think I tend to lean more naturally into being a submissive. And with my partner, I feel like ultimately safe is the thing. And so like that's like more recently I think is where I've started to like play, like I feel like where I finally got to like subspace. Like
Yeah.
I used to think that was just something people said, and now like I do like to kind of really really just go into where you're like pure feeling.
Yeah.
You're just in your emotions, you're in your body and all these things, and then having someone that takes very very good care of you afterwards is good.
Yes. Ugh, and I love that you brought up safety again because it's like, yeah, I mean, my first kinky relationship totally fell apart because my partner stopped creating a safe space for me. And so then I couldn't drop in. And so then I was like, well, you broke your toy. Like it's done, you know? And so, having all of that, those experiences, I mean, they're so intense. What was the site that you said that you had a good experience on?
Abby Winters. solo in California, and then because actually this is like the coolest thing that I ever got to do because then eventually they flew my partner and I
Yeah.
to Europe, and I got so they shot us together because they like to shoot real couples and get very 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 natural scenes, and then I got to shoot like all these lesbian scenes like in Amsterdam, Berlin, Barcelona. It was a dream.
I love that. Okay. And so there was like, so you got to do a ton of stuff with them and including kink stuff.
Yes, and that's the only site because like I wasn't a porn star yet. They like assigned me a name, so I'm Paisley.
Oh, that's funny.
And Randy Paisley is what they chose.
I would not have thought to name you a Paisley, but okay. All right. Okay. Okay.
Because I just didn't even want to pick. I think I was like a name. Like I don't know. Like
Yeah.
and I think they said that they would just assign you one. But yeah, that was cool to do for sure. But you kind of see me grow probably more than anything if you watched like my very first scenes there
Yeah.
compared even to when I came back and shot the lesbian scenes after I'd had some more experience in porn.
Totally. I think about that sometime with this podcast. I'm in my seventh year of recording. And, when it came time to kind of connect some of my dots, I'm like, uh-oh, early me. I don't know about this. And now I'm just like, well, you can watch me publicly grow. But like, how is that for you? Because it's like everything out there. Like, is it just like, how do you feel about that? Yeah. What is that like?
There's times where I let myself stress over it, like especially towards the beginning when there's like a really, really unflattering picture of you, and you're
Mm.
like, everyone can see this picture, like I'm folded up in this crazy way, and
Also,
I'm
there's
probably tired.
definitely people getting off to your weird picture.
You know it though, and like every time I like show someone like, look at this horrible picture, they're like, what? Like, what is it? That's a good picture. We're all our own worst critic, and I've even noticed that if I look at a photo set immediately when it comes out, I'm gonna be like so self-conscious. And if I look at it 2 years later, I'm like, I look so good. Like I remember looking that good in that picture. So,
Yep. Actually, it's so funny that you said that because it was a makeup artist when I remember shooting, I was doing just a regular like headshot actor portrait session. And my makeup artist friend was talking about her burlesque work and just everything that she does and was like, 80-year-old me is going to think 32-year-old me looks awesome. And I think I was like 29 or 30 at the time. And I was like, I will share all of my nudes. Okay. Because I'd been taking them kind of in secret for myself. And then I was like, yeah, why am I keeping these just for me? And it started out as exploration, but it's like, yeah, I love that. I love that it's 2 years is not even that far away. I mean, that's so great. Okay, so is there anything you look back on that you're like that current you would like love to do again or redo? Like when you think about early content, because it's like such a special time where it's like everything is new and fresh, right? Like, does it feel different now, or is it the same? I don't know. I'm projecting here.
well, I would almost love to go back and redo all of it. Like to go have like every single like scenario, like scene that I got, talent, and just because I know I would do better.
Mm,
But I'm sure that's how every actor feels, how everything, and as you're just learning about performance,
yeah.
because I feel like I had like a pretty healthy knowledge of sex by the time that I finally started shooting porn.
What makes it better? You were talking about I would do it better, but like, what is your definition of better in this instance as you're learning about performance, like knowing what you know now?
So there's the things like you learn your angles, right? You start to realize like if the camera's here, you know exactly how you're supposed to be. You're like we all have our things that you're maybe trying not to show or to show like more. But in general, like, and I think like being high energy, it's just that I think I would be more extra because I think when I first got into it, like, oh, people are watching sex and that's pretty simple. Oh, we're doing this position, we're doing this, we're doing this. And you start to realize over time that what really sets like better performers apart is like what they do kind of within like a narrow box. Like there's only like we're doing the same positions, we're doing the same activity. How do you do it differently? How do you make it look more interesting? And I remember I used to just not know what to say during my scenes. Like I'd like, oh no, I've been quiet for too long. Like say something, say anything. And I think dirty talk comes a bit more naturally now than it used
Okay.
to. So
Yeah, I mean, also in a context where it's like starting from scratch, like I definitely have had partners, lovers, clients that are just like, dirty talk to me. And that's like one of the first things they say. And I'm uh, like, I can dirty talk a lot, really well, and because I'm writing on the fly for you. If I don't know anything about you yet, I kind of don't know where to go first. So it's like, I can understand how, like, with a camera rolling while you're in the thick of fucking, the quietness might happen.
Who am I today? Like, and I definitely, if there's a really strong plot, because that's probably why, if it's something where, like, I did, plenty of scenes for, like, stepdad type things,
Okay.
if I could just say daddy a million times and I'm keeping the scene going, right? But I think I could do better, be a bit more creative when I go back. Although now that I'm turning 30 this year, I might get cast for different roles when I return.
I mean, there's all the look, and also great. Like, let's see the evolution. But also, you look amazing. So, I mean, I don't know. I don't know if you're ready to be a stepmom. I mean, maybe a young stepmom. I don't know. People all over the place.
I feel confident. It's you. I've had times where the woman who was cast as my stepmom was like younger than me, because I was from the time when I started at 24. They're like, oh, like, I mean, you still look young,
Yeah.
like, but you're already being treated like you're in that older category, which is so funny because there is something in between teens and like you're like MILF, right?
Milf, yeah, totally.
Yeah.
There's quite a lot.
Or do I feel funny using the porn terms and like
Yeah.
interviews and stuff?
Yeah, dude, that's so interesting. Going back to what you were saying about like knowing angles and knowing what to do, I just can't, like, when I watch scenes of blowjobs and then when I catch myself blowing someone, I'm like, all too often my face is just like totally smushed into a crotch. So like, how do you, like, you have to open up to camera. How do you think about that? Do you ever get distracted? Do you forget? Are you into deep throating? Like, tell us a little bit about blowjobs on camera, because I've been thinking about this lately.
I was literally on camera this morning and last night, so for Chatterbait, so I'm like thinking back, like, yeah, I mean, yeah, it's definitely so a lot of opening up, and so I know sometimes for like the guys, it's hard for them with certain angles where it doesn't
Right.
always feel like a reverse cowgirl too,
Yeah.
that bending back that way looks good for the camera, but doesn't actually feel so great for the body parts.
Interesting.
But yeah, as far I'm trying to think of like, is that an issue I have? Because I think like I do a lot of like, let's go over technique. Yeah,
Yeah,
I
yeah.
like keeping my hand at the bottom. I think and like pushing
Okay.
it out.
Because I'm also just like, when I'm deep throating, I often will like stick my arms, like I'll have them laying. I mean, and this is such a good example of how like sex for a partner is different than sex for camera. But it's like all too often I'll be like, I need you to lay down now, and I'll like stick my arms between their legs and like pull them so that my face is just like totally smushed in. And like I was doing that the other day, and I was just like, well, you're not practicing for a scene. Like, what are you doing? Because I've been thinking like, how do I want to do what kind of content do I want to do? I definitely want to do partner things, but I'm thinking about that, and so I'm just like, how I gotta watch more deep throating scenes and just like see that. I guess if you just like come off of it enough, and then you can be sloppy and silly. I don't know.
Right. And I learned one trick. It was in that rough shoot that I mentioned earlier. I did. You like get on your knees and they stand up, and you want the basically the goes for your forehead to their stomach. And
Yes.
like to
Oh,
me, that's
okay.
the easiest way to deep throat. So if your
Oh,
forehead's touching
interesting.
their stomach, you're
Oh yeah, I mean that is the angle that I usually need, but and they have to be the right height. I mean, I'm tall, so it's like I can
true.
be a lot of angles, but it's like I finally had a partner that was like that made me feel small. Like they are very tall, long. So I was like on my knees, and I was like, wait, I need more leverage, and so like is that downward angle, but also the curve of the cock makes such a big difference, because if someone is curving upwards, then I actually need to be the other direction. Like it needs to be more of a 69ing position for me to get it all the way down comfortably, or laying off the bed, hanging my head off the bed, etc. So, um,
Weight matters, body size. It was just the other night on cam. Someone wanted us to do like the full Nelson. Which I've
wait, what
done
is that?
porn. Yeah, like you get your legs like, all the way behind you
Oh,
basically.
yes.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And this is while you're in reverse cowgirl facing the camera, right? And so you're kind of like bent over. Anyway, apparently with our body sizes, like we tried everything.
Oh,
Not
I love
possible.
that.
But I've done it like in porn scenes. But I think because we're like pretty close to the same height,
Yeah,
I was
yeah.
like, this is just for some reason this is literally impossible.
But I love that, because I love having sex with different body shapes, sizes, and types, because I discover different things about myself, different things about sex, different ways to come to. I mean, my pussy changes every day, and so I'm always like, what do you need today? I don't know. What are your parts like? Are they consistent? Do you have like specific ways you love to come, like favorite position? Like what works for you when it comes to pleasure?
For a long time, I felt like it was really consistent. I like vibrators, clitoral stimulation, and that was pretty much, I'm like, that's it, you know? I don't know if what this is connected to. I did get my IUD out, and then like I feel like I started having, because I'd never had a penetrative orgasm before.
Mhm.
I always kind of thought those were a lie. Like I don't know. And
For some people, they are.
I thought I was making it up.
Yeah.
I'm like, I had really good sex. Like I think I would have felt it by now, but I don't know. Something clicked. I don't know. I got older. Just something happened. Because I didn't have the IUD my whole life, but yeah, I took it out, and then suddenly I was having, yeah, vaginal orgasm. So that's been like a, welcome change. And that's been like, I think, consistent, especially like when I'm on top. So
Okay.
sometimes like at the ranch, it's good with like new partners that I kind of always know something that like always works for me.
I love that.
But I'm trying to think. I definitely still use vibrators the most often. But I'm pretty, what should I say? So I think I will scare people during sex because I get pretty like loud and intense. My
Me
chest is
too.
always super red by the lots of gasping. So I like it. I get pretty like dramatic. I feel like I have to before.
I mean, totally. Also, I have newly been experiencing orgasms on top when I'm writing, like vigorously. Like I had a new lover and I think in the rest of my life I've come on top 2 or 3 times, and in the few times that I have had sex with this new person, it's like 3 times. I've already come 3 times on this cock, so it's like doubled my experience, and I'm like, "What is happening?" Because it just has to do
A
with like
lot.
a lot. Because normally too, I need to really, really relax in order to come, and so on top, oftentimes I can't necessarily be relaxed, but I also had a thing where they were holding my arms behind me, and it was like, so I kind of got to relax, but also was doing the work, and it was just the whole, and because I'll sometimes,
I have to step off camera. I'm getting excited.
do you ever have, okay, here's a question for you. Have you ever been on top? Because part of the reason that I used to never be able to come on top is like it would be such intense sensation, like up and down my spine, that I would like, and this still does sometimes happen, that I'll like freeze or like fall over like a goat, like those, like the mountain goats that just like fall over. Like I'll like do that if I'm on top.
Awful.
Yeah. And then the other day when I did come on this cock, I was coming and then I just fell completely backwards. Like I just fell all the way off when I was coming. And I was like, I don't know. Like I just like
I think
fully
that could
lose.
make you famous. That move.
Damn it, if only
I
we had cameras running.
I get very like, I literally have a video where I like knock myself in the head with my knee as I'm coming, like because
Okay,
I just like
that
twitch
makes me
so much.
feel better to hear because I'm so clumsy. Wait, so it was like as you were coming, wait, what position were you in?
I think I was on my back. So picture like missionary using a Hitachi, and then my knee just like totally. I'll have to find it because I posted it to Reddit at the time.
That's
uh,
so funny.
so and then sometimes if someone's like eating me out, right? Yeah, my like knees will like come
Oh yeah.
together,
Oh
trying to
yeah.
wrap their neck.
Which is kind of hot. I mean, like the pressure, I don't know, it's all, I mean, like, with consent, all of it, but I also, you can only do what your body can do. Yeah, what other sensual things does your body like? How do you love to be touched? How do you love to be worshipped? How do you love to be pleased? Like what? Sounds like there's strength, but it sounds like there's a whole array, like the vanilla deliciousness all the way to the intense. So like tell us some things.
Tolerate, because honestly, like on a day to day session with my partner, like what he just knows that I can't get enough of. I just love to be just touched, just
Yeah.
like the love. I just want to lay there and just while you touch me. Like does not have to be sexual at all. It's like still that very much that same kind of feeling for me though. Just feel like, yeah, like my whole body is erogenous. I think like when I was thinking about the shame meter earlier, sometimes with oral sex, like I still that's like maybe where I'm not quite, like all the way where I want to be, because every now and then I'm still self-conscious to just lie there and enjoy it while someone,
Mm.
and for me, I always feel
Mm-hmm.
like something too. Why things like 69 can be nice, but and I think maybe more than that, it just may be easy to get into my head.
For sure.
You're
For
like,
sure.
oh, like is do I like this? Do I like that? I don't know.
Yeah.
Like I just like focus too hard on what's going on, I guess, to enjoy it sometimes. But also there's times where I really, really, really enjoy it when I
Same.
can relax, be out of
Yeah.
my head, just like let it happen, and it can be so, so, so nice. So
I totally relate to that so hard because sometimes the 69ing or other stimulation helps me relax into it and then deeply enjoy. And because my pussy changes her mind about what feels good every day, sometimes I'm like, you're touching pokey directly. It's a pokey tongue on my clit. Wait, doesn't actually hurt
Wait,
today.
not like that.
Wait, it doesn't hurt. No, wait. Okay, that is okay. Will I come from it? No, I don't. The point is not coming, and then and then I'm like,
Enjoy the journey.
oh, there's talking in my head. I got to make it stop. Oh, okay. Oh, no, focus on the sensation. I'm focused. I'm focused. I'm focused. And
I'm
then they're
gonna make a
like,
video now of just like our thought process, like while they're down there. I'll finally have a viral video.
you know,
It's so real. And because I actually find that I really enjoy, at any point, actually, I tell people all the time this helps me orgasm if they put fingers in my mouth. If I'm right there and I'm right there and I'm so, so, so close, just put your fingers in my mouth.
that's hot. Oh, are you, how do you like that? Like sideways in? Do you like them down your throat? Like, or does it just depend? Depends on the person. Mm-hmm.
Straight in, but down my throat a little is that, yeah.
Yeah,
Like,
depends on the person,
yeah.
and don't surprise me with that, please. And make sure your fingernails are trimmed, like, but yes.
Trimmed is good for sure. And so, but just in general, I'm just like just sucking on them, right?
Yeah,
It will
yeah,
just be, like you said, it takes you just out of any of those other thought processes and you're just feeling.
yeah. What about other parts of your body, like feet? Do you like feet worship? Are you ticklish? What are your nipples like? Tell us.
Nipples, it goes like from day to day. Like I know sometimes I think it's got to be a cycle thing, like us as women. There's like times during the month I'm like, oh, don't touch them. And there's times I'm like, oh, like more and more, like pull them hard, pull them harder, you know?
Okay.
And so sometimes that's almost frustrating because it's not consistent and it like surprises me day to day when I feel one way or the other. Feet, I don't tend to incorporate a lot. There's I shot for a foot fetish site a couple times where I did like foot jobs. And the guy who did the scene, I mean, I could see why he does the site. I think he's clearly very into it because everyone was just so easy. Just as soon as I'd touch him with my feet, he's so hard, like he'd come so quick, like
Ooh.
and so that kind of turned me on when the other person was so into it. I think that's on the most, or like if they really get off
Same.
on sucking my toes. I like when I see that that's a part of my body that they're enjoying.
Dude. Oh my God, I totally feel that. And also, like, I had an experience with I had an experience in a two-girl foot worship situation where he was such an incredible worshiper. Because I've been foot worship curious for a while. I still haven't achieved my like, date with someone, the white tablecloth when we play footsie underneath. Like that's like my next level, like kind of fantasy for someone who's into feet. But it was my first time like having my feet worshipped, and I was like, I don't know, am I gonna be ticklish? And it was so amazing. And yeah. And our friend who I was with has erotic like feet. She has like feet and toes where like if you play with them and suck on them, it's like erotic in her pussy. So, what are your nipples like? Can they make you orgasm? Are there place? Or do you have any interesting body things like that? Because I know some people do, but like mine are not like that at all.
I feel like I've gotten so close on those days where I'm like, yes, harder. I feel like I can tell that I think it's possible, and like I'm gonna I'm gonna conquer that.
New horizons. I mean, look, if you can
Yeah.
now have internal orgasms, like everything is possible, especially if we believe it is and are open to it, it makes a difference.
We're always, it's like, and like you said, where your body changes its mind all the time. Sometimes
Yes.
you've been really into something, and after a while, it's just like not doing it.
Yeah.
And maybe it will again someday, and maybe it won't. But like we are dynamic, ever-changing beings.
Totally. What about any other like turn-ons or sensations or just like kinky things? Like what else in your sexual landscape bubbles up right now that is like fun for you?
Let's see. I think I'm learning to enjoy slow sex more because I've been like a lot of time, like I said, I go like so fast on my breathing, and that's
Yeah.
really fun. But I am, like definitely seeing too where like, when you can really just go slow, like, just feel like every tiny little bit of the sensation and draw it out and no rush, that can actually just feel so much better.
I love it.
Like my partner and I definitely been, I think, enjoying more of the slower sex lately. And it's interesting too because a lot of our sex is happening on camera lately. That then when we are off camera, it's been very like interesting to kind of see those distinctions. Like this is how we are when it's just for us versus when we're like putting on a show, which
That's
we
cool.
also enjoy. But it's cool
Yeah.
when it's also just
I totally feel it's a different energy. Like, I do a lot of like masturbation, meditation, sensation exploration. So it's like I am talking to camera because I'm like leading a thing, but also then I get distracted by touching. And then it's like, okay, and it's not that it's not pleasurable for me. It's just in a different category. It's totally pleasurable. I almost come. Sometimes I do come, but like not if I'm in during September. I edge myself all month long as much as possible. But like, the rest of the year I may come. But like, I totally hear that. What else have you learned about sex through work or experienced for the first time, through your work that has kind of informed your own personal sex life?
Probably so many things. Like I feel like
Yeah,
probably like everything I'm into right now has been like a whole like collection, right, of the
totally.
added like basically the kinks that other people have had that I've learned about in this industry, all the scenes I've shot, the various this is how I like, this is how I don't. God, like what's like a specific one? I definitely didn't use as many toys before I got into the industry. And so that's been cool to like try new ones. Like I remember it was one of my friends sent me, it's like a warming vibrator, right? That goes inside.
Ooh.
And I found like that's very, yeah, I really, really enjoyed that, having like the warm sensation. And then I'll like use another toy on the outside at the same time. But
I love
bring
that.
these to the ranch, when I'm in my
Yeah,
room.
totally. What about like requests from clients or even like, I'd love to hear about, I always associate you with Sex Panther. Like to me, when I think Sex Panther, I think Nikki Sweet, like just because you were the first person to like have an in-depth conversation with me about it when I first got on there. So like receiving requests from people or things that you've learned in that capacity, like what? Is there anything that jumps to mind?
So let's see, because it's like you'll have trends in the universe where some days it's like everyone comes around and they want me to be like their good little toy, or all these guys show up and they'd all like to be dominated.
That's
Like,
so interesting. That I have that energetic clumping with podcast guests sometimes. It's like people come in and I'm like, I guess I'm supposed to learn about this theme right now.
from. But okay, and so like it's fun like focus on the crazy ones. Like sometimes like there's like the giantess or like vor, where like a little I'm like sometimes feel it out of my depth with
Okay.
that kind of thing. But it's actually not super common because what I found, and maybe it's my look as well, typically people ask for very basic things. They like to hear
Me
me say their
too.
name. They
Okay.
want to see me orgasm. They want me to orgasm and say their name or use this toy. And I found that like that kind of like, maybe reaffirm some of my faith in humanity. That for the most part, I think people like they like to see something real,
Yeah.
and I make my content that way. Yeah, because definitely usually when I do more kinky stuff, it always is in the category of like free use,
Mm-hmm.
like which I
Mm.
think I do slip into pretty naturally.
Mm-hmm. Same. Yep.
So some of my fans have, I think, come back for that again and again.
Okay. I love that. What about group sex? Have you had it? Do you like it? Are you into like tell us about that?
I'd love to have more, honestly.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's like more like was my life. I had like one experience like that was just totally off camera, like just for me, and this was with two men, and I very much um that like that definitely made me want to do more things like that. My partner and I will even like we'll like talk, dirty talk role play about that sometimes because he
Ooh.
knows it turns me on. And then in some I've done like in my porn scenes, I know I got to do like one orgy scene that was like I think were there four girls and three guys. It was like a cheerleader kind of scene.
So
But that
fun.
was fun. Like I could like that kind of just like mingle of bodies, just everyone like switching around, you on you, me and her on him, like,
Yeah.
and it was just like such a great. It was a really great like cast, I guess you would
Okay.
say. Everyone a great energy.
Like
Fun.
for that scene, do you guys plan ahead of time who's gonna do what when, or does it organically unfold? Like, how does camera keep up with you? What is the conversation like? Tell us about that.
So this particular director shoots things very quickly, and
Okay.
so mostly he likes to hire people who just like go.
Mm-hmm.
And so I remember for that scene, he had one camera and the like assistant had another camera, like and they're on wheels and they're just following all the action. And we all just it was we just like kind of just organically in the moment, whoever's closest to you, right? And then after a while, just you just keep switching it up. I don't think I think we only maybe stopped like once during that scene, so I don't think there could have been very much direction.
Okay. Oh, amazing. So you just feel into it. I mean, and that's cool because in a scenario like that where you're all tested and safe and in a zone, like is really cool. Whereas like I've been at play parties and I'm like, I don't want to jump into the puppy pile because I don't know those people and it doesn't look like they're
Yes.
all using barriers and I don't know their testing status. So it's like I can't.
You know when you get there that you're with everyone.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
already established that like I will most likely be interacting with all these people.
yeah.
I did do there was this one was so fun. It was an all girl gangbang, as in like six girls on one girl. That's how we were supposed to shoot it. With Alex Cole was like the one girl. And this was like an office. Like they shoot us having an office meeting, and then two girls start getting it on under the table, and then we put the one on the conference table, and everyone like jumps on her.
Oh my God.
That was great. That was an amazing. I remember like I got that scene the same day. Like they called me at 7 a.m. I had to go get a COVID test and go to set because someone couldn't be in the scene.
Oh
And
wow.
I'm just there surrounded by all these girls. Like, how did I get here?
That's really hot. Oh my gosh.
Everyone brings in their own energy and their own, I don't know, like even like I did like a VR scene. Violet Star was the one where she just gave this incredible performance. It was me, her, and Braylon Bailey. It was also amazing, amazing. But I remember Violet Star, she just like picked it up 100%, like from the start of the scene. She's spitting, she's got the crazy eyes, she's just wild. And I remember like that inspired me so much because I'm like, I didn't want her to like come down to my level, but I'm like, no, I want to be on that level, giving that kind of performance. And so
Ooh.
group sex, I think, can really be conducive to that kind of thing.
I love that. Can you feel like I know people are performing, but I also know a lot of people are like the performance is fueled by their authentic slutty connection. Like, can you feel when people are like really open to connecting with you? Like how is that for your sexy animal body on camera? Like do you ever hit points where you're like, "Oh no, that I can't connect with them," or how is that for you?
Yeah, I'd say for the most part, especially with like your more like seasoned performers, I think most of them really do like get into it in the moment, and that's what makes a good performance. And I always like kind of want to stop because I know everyone's going to have different things they're comfortable with. At the end of the day, is a job. You
Yeah.
don't owe your partner any kind of connection. You're here to do a scene, and so everyone should do what they're comfortable with. For me, it's definitely a preference, and I find that with a lot of other people that I've worked with as well.
Yeah.
Because it's like, sure, like we know we might literally never speak again after we walk on set, but right now we're in this moment, we're eye
Yeah.
to eye, we're connecting, there's something real here, and it doesn't need to be anything, more than that. But I do like when I kind of feeling like when I go on set and like I got like my like crush of the day, like when we get to the sex scene, I'm like, finally,
Totally.
there's
Totally.
serious sexual tension sometimes during all of the lead up and shooting everything that's not sex.
I totally feel that. Also, like, my background is in mainstream entertainment. So even when I was like on set for indie films or even commercials, like when I have a romantic lead, like part of the fun is like flirting. And again, it doesn't mean we're going to be till death do us part. Hopefully not. That's not what I signed up for. But like to have that like human energy exchange and to especially in a container where you're like allowed to be slutty with it. I mean, that's so
Yeah.
fun.
And whenever that energy is already there, then when the sex scene starts, like I think it's always going to be a better scene because
Yeah.
you're both just like, now I'm ready to show you what I can do.
Totally, totally. And I imagine that that like also translates. I mean, for me, it does like when you're working with clients, like in person. And again, whether I'm working as a photographer or a writing coach or something sexier, like I feel like I want to have that exchange with a person. And if I don't, I'm also like, I'll take your money, but this is not really my preference. Like I will like
Yeah,
try
I
to
feel
steer
that.
people. Yeah. And I'm pretty upfront about that. Like I've definitely had people where I'm like, I'm a connection forward person and this is not the vibe. And then sometimes that they change their tune or they meet me where I'm at. What types of parties have you had at the ranch that are like fun for you? Like, have you done role plays? Like, what's your kind of like favorite stuff when you're there at Sherry's?
Yeah. I mean, there was one that was like, it was like a four-girl field day. We all like got white t-shirts and water guns and like, I mean, there was like a champagne gun later. Anyways,
I
and like a wedding
may have
contest.
spied on you. I
Like that
definitely.
was a pretty cool. That was definitely fun, and some girls that I hadn't at that point had much of a chance to interact with. And so it was fun to have lots of just, those flirty vibes between all of us, finally getting to interact with each other. And just the best client, just so enthusiastic, just everybody ready to have a wonderful time we did. On top of that, let's see. It's like again where I'm like, it's so varied. And then you like actually start to try to think like the specifics. Because I remember, okay, where you did talk about connection, there was like just one time I remember it was an arm fetish, which was so like interesting to me, but this person was not very communicative.
Okay.
So I'll never know why. I'll never know like why that was the fetish or what they liked or
Yeah. I
anything
mean,
like
some
that.
people don't even know why their fetish is. Like, I've stopped asking people the question why, and I'm just like, how? What? Like,
But that's pretty much how,
so
like
what?
I'm very open in the moment.
What was it like?
Like I said, it was very quiet. But like, just wanted to like I think with his hands.
Like
Where were
arm
my arms?
worship? I've had leg
Yeah,
worship, but I've never had an arm worshiper. Can I see your
yeah.
arms right now? Like, can you just?
I don't know if he likes freckles or
Yes. Okay. Okay. Yeah. I mean,
giving you content.
wow. That's so
So that was
cool.
a funny one. But no, like I'm still like it's honestly like it's so interesting because it's great. Like, because we have ideas sometimes that like there's like a narrow like this one thing that sells, this one type of person maybe that sells or something like that, and it's not true. Like people are into just everything and all parts. I've liked definitely my favorite parties that I've done are like definitely around like the girlfriend experience. Because I feel like I've just had such great conversation,
Mhm.
whether it's in the bathtub or lying in bed cuddling. Like I've just been surprised where just like hours can just slip away
Yeah.
just talking about things, and like where I almost can't believe at the end when I'm saying goodbye that I just met this person because we just opened up about so many things. And
Yeah.
that part of the human experience, I think that's like a lot of the times what a lot of people are coming for.
Ugh, I fucking love that. Have you had porn and or content fans come visit you at the ranch? Like, what is that like?
Yes, a couple times, not as much as, I would wish so far. I think obviously it's like in the desert.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I remember like the very first time, early on when someone they'd like come all the way from New York and they said they've been following me for years. I'm my biggest fan. They knew all my scenes and I've never heard from this person ever, right? And that
Wow.
just but that made me so because like sometimes you only think about the people who are like reaching out to you and you
Totally.
forget the people that you might never hear from that enjoy your work. So
Yeah. Yeah.
we had a wonderful time.
I was
But
just talking to some dude friends who were telling me like their formative porn people, like the people who were like so. And I was like, "Do you ever write to them? Have you ever told them?" They're like, "No, no, 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 I wouldn't." But they know so much about their scenes, and like they're telling me how it shaped their sexual experiences and all of this stuff, and it was like very, very sweet and specific. And so it has me thinking, I'm like, well, now I want to do a whole series like hearing about like the relationships like the parasocial relationships people have with the porn performers where they maybe don't even talk to them. I'm like, tell me more. Yeah, who else? What did you like about it? Oh, and what did it lead you to do? Like, it's so interesting, to think about all the ripples of effects that you've had on people's turn-ons. That's so cool.
literally, it happened one time that I had a client who reached out to me. We've been talking before, just the general questions. And then he messages again and says, I was talking to my friends and they know who you are. And I didn't realize, he said, that you're famous. And I'm like, as far as porn stars, like, I'm not like one of the top porn stars. But so he was worried it was just going to be like this astronomical, like, he's like, I don't know, but I'm going to come and see what happens.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
we had a great time. But that was
awesome.
flattering,
Yeah.
that's, what his friends had to say, that at the end of it, they thought that I might be expensive.
Ah,
So,
well, I mean, yeah, and you should be worshipped with every dollar that is possible.
like, forever the balance, which I'm sure you feel too, we'd love, what I try to say, always about that, I'd love to work with as many people as possible. And I know not everyone is a millionaire. So I'm
Totally.
not a millionaire.
Well,
So
I always am framing it in the sense of like it's a luxury experience and kindness and connection go a long way. Like we obviously have to be reasonable, right? There are certain constraints that we're working with. And at the same time, I know that when someone is like really trying their best and I feel energetically worshipped, I will do my best to meet that person where we can find the overlap. And that's hot. Yeah. It's got to go both ways. It's got to feel good both ways too. So,
obviously, like, it's a different experience toward like from like being at a strip club where
yeah.
the full range of options is, that is legally not
Yeah.
available to you there. and versus at Sheri's where it is. And so when people do sometimes come like anticipating that they would spend what they do at a strip club, that's very interesting to me, because
Yeah,
I
exactly.
don't know. I'm like, this is like that's like the appetizer. This is the main course.
Yeah, totally, totally. Yeah, or when someone who like brags about the fancy job that they have, they want to spend less on me than they might on a dinner. I'm sort of like, really? That's interesting. What an interesting set of
Yeah.
values you have. It's
Or like
not
don't
making
brag
me
about
wet.
spending an amount of money on something that's like more than what you're gonna spend today. I don't know.
Totally, totally. And whatever, everyone is allowed to have their own values, as do I, and so it shapes the decisions. I would love to hear, how do you think your sex-related work is making the world a more loving place?
So I was talking, there was a concerned family member recently, where I was trying to say, I'm like, this, like, I know maybe people have this one vision of like what sex work looks like, what the clients look like, and they're all wrong, you know?
Yeah.
Like, honestly, like I have had just so many times where I've worked with people and sometimes I'm feeling the exact same way when these people come to visit me, that they just want like just some touch. They just want to be connected. They just want to be seen and like treated like another human.
And feel
and
safe.
and we're so lots of people these days, right, feel very disconnected. It's very hard to go connect or even just make like platonic friends, let alone dating. And so I just think like it shouldn't be shamed, for people to go looking for like what they need. And so sometimes it's like it's not necessarily that they're trying to get married or settle down, or maybe they are but not with me, and that's great. Right,
Yeah.
like but but it's nice, that like everyone, like I always feel like with my really great clients, like it's an even exchange, and I feel like I love when it's a feeling where we mutually enjoy each other's company. And so I think the more that we like bring that into the world, like I don't know if this is true or just a rumor. I had heard that in Japan, like women are sometimes more accepting of like male partners visiting sex workers.
Mhm, mhm.
Unconfirmed.
I have
But I
also
had
heard
just
this
thought,
from various sources that may be related to an internet video that no one has sent to me yet, but I've heard several people be like, I saw this on the street interview and they don't even think it's a
I
thing
saw
that,
that
and I'm
video.
like, great, okay.
So we don't. But I would say though, and like I've had a couple times in the U.S. here, right, where my clients have come and they are married, but their wife is fully aware of their at. Maybe
Yes.
she's having like a spa weekend, doing her
Yes.
own thing, like, or maybe there's just maybe she doesn't like dirty talk or oral sex, but she would love for them to go to experience that with someone else. I think that can be so healthy when it's done very ethically and everyone's on the same
Totally.
page.
Totally. Also, Gigi had a client one time who they FaceTimed his wife together, like at the end of their party, and it's like so cute, and they said hi, and like, he was military, and so they were like deployed across the world, different, and he was traveling, and she just like wanted to say what's up, and it was like such a fun, sweet, supportive vibe. And I think that's the other thing is like, as a polyamorous human, like in sex work, it's so sweet because it creates so much space for actual relationship, which I think is very different from the narratives, like kind of like you were saying.
It's
Yeah.
like we're not trying to steal away, the girls that I know at the ranch are not trying to steal away anyone's husband, right? We're
No.
here, we offer a service,
Yeah.
and we'd like to continue offering that service to more clients.
You would have to
And
pay me
so
so much money to steal you.
to retire, I don't even know what that looks like
That's
in,
what I'm saying.
today.
I'm like, oh,
So
pay me to have a human pet forever? Okay, I'll think about it.
my very very first my first trip to the brothel, I remember I had a client who was married, and yeah, his wife, like I remember he like FaceTimed her like while we were, because there was another lady involved too, while we were eating breakfast.
That's so cute.
Yeah, because
Wait.
it was my first week. I was like, is this gonna be okay, or like,
Yeah.
is there
Yeah.
gonna be a fight? No.
Oh my
But
God. I love
and I
that.
think it like helped her too, for it to feel real, to like
Hmm.
see our faces and not just,
Yeah.
I don't know, just imagining. I don't know. Your imagination's always gonna come up with something crazier than reality.
Totally. And I know that in my imagination, the human element is missing. And then when I see the other person, I'm like, hello, other human. You're a person. And I even feel this way like when I sometimes, it's not so much anymore, but I used to feel this so strongly with like photography clients or like podcast guests. Like I don't know them, they're a stranger. So I'd have all this like crinkly stranger fear. And then I meet them and I'm like, that person, I love them, and it's just so funny. It's that like how we're wired
We
to
have
be
so much.
suspicious. Yeah, exactly. I mean, and we do when we're talking about a common topic. Any other stories or things that stand out about your experience, etc., that feel like they need to be shared right now?
No, there was one thing I wanted to talk about. So because I know that there's a lot of talk within the porn industry. People get very upset when anyone speaks badly about the industry, especially if they made a lot of money off the industry and now they only speak badly about it.
Mm,
And I think like with everything, there has to be a more nuanced conversation than that. That we need to acknowledge where people are sometimes at risk, where we need to implement more safety, where we need to make sure consent is always being enforced, things like that. And so yeah, I'd love to say more of like just more of a conversation about that because I've thought like it would be great, and I always want to do this where the most people get to work, like where this doesn't like limit anyone from working. But where for like other jobs, like you need permits, there's little trainings, there's thing like sometimes when I've
yes.
like been on porn sets, I'm realizing people don't really know about birth control.
Yeah.
And just some things that I'm like, I would love to see just way more push for harm reduction,
Yeah.
for like making sure that people or even educated about like how they might face weird power dynamics with agents, directors,
Yes.
and navigate that and what to look out for, resources to protect yourself. And so
Totally.
I like to see that because I love the porn industry and I love the experiences I've had. And there's days I don't want to go back because like honestly, lots of jobs there's just because it's
Yeah.
not only like on porn sets where people face some of these issues, it's even
Totally.
in like jobs. But yeah, there's days I like don't want to go back because of some of those experiences.
I totally hear that, and I am right there with you. Like, I'm such a fucking sex ed nerd, and I think that's like my my future horizons when it comes to like content and creation. So I love that you said that. And you're right, it's such a dual experience, right? It's never one thing or the other. And that's the most confusing thing I think sometimes about being a human is I'm like, I'm so turned on, I love it. That is bad. That's not what I wanted. It's like,
Right.
okay,
God.
okay.
And I think, because of course, it's like I think human trafficking is a very, very important issue. And then, but I heard like some like girls on TikTok talking about how they like protested at AVN, and I'm like, I don't think anyone at AVN like wants you to protest for that. Like, we're for the most part, like
Yeah.
people are there because they've chosen to be. Like, I would say almost always. Like,
You're like,
and
that's not the
I
place. Yeah.
I ran into so many women who have chosen this. This is their career. They spend all of their time creating content and a brand. And so like then but you just always see where there's this narrative that it's just people being taken advantage of. And it's
Right.
like let's of course try to, keep that
Yeah.
from happening.
Yeah.
Also see that this empowers women.
It's like that is a reality and it's not the reality right here. Just like it's not, I definitely have had people be like, what you're researching the legal brothels? You're in the legal brothel. Are you being trafficked? And I'm like, that's not how it works. Like, let me tell you some things about. Yeah, and so it's a complicated issue for sure. Yeah, thanks for bringing that up. What else is on your horizon, sex and or more broadly speaking, creativity wise? But like, what else would you like to do? What else would you like to try? What other experiences would you like to have, like for work or for play?
Yeah. So, I mean, definitely, like I said, I don't consider my porn career over. I've just liked to take this time to solidify what I do online, having other options at the brothel and all that. But I very much do want to get back into like I envision like my main to me I feel like my career hasn't started, right? Like I want to go back and shoot so much more than I've done so far. Do like yeah, everything right in my mind. Just I like there's a lot that I know now about modeling and everything that I didn't when I started.
Yeah.
So I'd really like to just yeah, leap back in and just kind of leave behind a career that I'm like very proud of there. And because basically, like at the end, because everyone always asks, like, will you do this forever? I'm like, I don't know, like as long as it's fun.
Yeah,
But what I like is that I can like build security for myself. So if another dream emerges down the line, I can pursue that.
totally.
Um, right now I'm just trying to like have like learn a really, really healthy work-life balance. Mentioned my cat at like the very, very beginning. That was good for me to get a couple pets. I
Yeah.
just been decorating my house and like I want to live like a very simple life for a while, I think is all I want.
I
and then we'll
love
see in
that.
a few years. Maybe I want to like move to another country or do something crazier.
Totally. I relate to that. Yeah, it's like let's make a long runway of stability so that I often think like I'm in pre-production for whatever I work on next. I mean, I'm literally always in podcast production, but I'm just like, yeah, I'm just building up that runway of stability and just like chilling and enjoying life outside of work too. I love that you're creating that balance for yourself.
Love the journey.
Yeah. What do you think that we need collectively to make the world a sexier, more loving place?
Sexier, more loving place. I mean, like the biggest thing is acceptance of of all kinds of things, sexualities, what people are into. I mean, just like stop judging over everything. I don't know if social media is helping with that because every time I'm in like a comment section, I wish I wasn't because
Oh,
I
yeah.
has too much to say. But like I don't know because I think at the end of the day, most of us want like the same, like we have very similar wants, and needs and all that, and that's good to remember. We all have more in common than we have like different between us. I believe that, and I think like my time in sex work has shown me that big time that like even engaging with people sometimes like across political spectrums, which is, say I wouldn't necessarily do like out of this work, but realizing like how much like, unity can be possible. People like we
Yes.
are all, I don't know, like people, I think it's easy for us to all feel divided. But like you said, when someone's face to face, when you're with someone, it's so different to like
Yep.
see their humanness.
Totally. Yeah. And having a whole human conversation because I talk to people from all different backgrounds and perspectives. And when I speak with them, I'm like, we really are on the same page. Like both sides in any sort of like binary like fight like of ideals, it's like, you are both being told the same bad story about each other. Just so I mean, like, yes, there are some specifics, but also like you said, we are all at our core wanting love, wanting acceptance, wanting, a peaceful life of joy and
Security.
connection. Yeah, security, all of that. I feel that. Okay, so now tell us, how do you like to spread ripples of love?
I think I really, really am trying to be genuine. I think I come from a culture with a lot of like passive aggressiveness and you have to act just so.
Yeah.
And I think I really just trying, when I'm being there for someone, I'm really there for them. Like if you have my time and attention, you really have it. And trying to think, I've thought a lot about like community building lately, right? Something I want to be like better at in general, right? It's like
Yeah.
doing my part, to like reach out to people when I can and be supportive because, that's always going to happen and come back to you in return. So, I mean, I guess like I'm a big believer in karma pretty much,
Yeah.
right? I like to put like good things out into the world and kind of, I feel like in general that comes back. Like, I
Yes.
don't feel like I have a very big problem with like trolls online. I don't get a lot of nasty come through messages, but I also like I only try to engage positively.
Yeah.
Not to say that I don't have moments where I don't feel positive, but especially when
Totally.
I'm putting things out into the world, like putting things online or interacting with someone. Yeah, just try and only put out what's good.
I feel that. I feel every time I have encountered you, it is totally sweet vibes only, you know? And like, I love that. I love that. And thank you for coming here to help spread ripples of love through this podcast today. Lovers, if you are listening and you want to go learn more about Nikki Sweet, you can visit linktree/it's Nikki Sweet. It's linkter.ee/it's Nikki Sweet. The link is in the description below. My sweet Nikki, thank you so much for being a guest and sharing your stories.
Thank you for giving me space to speak. Amazing host.
And you can come back anytime and share your updates. Lovely woo humans, that is our show. Remember to follow your hearts and follow your parts and follow me in family-friendly internet places at Lunar Woohoo, or if you're in naughty internet places, at Lunar Secrets. Visit howtowoo.fyi for links to everything. You can support our awesome show on Patreon for early ad-free episodes. You can worship me virtually on OnlyFans or Sextpanther, or we can work together in person in a number of excellent creative capacities. You can also ask a question, share a story, or apply to be a guest at howtowoo.fyi if you want to be on the show. And tell a friend to help us grow. Take care of yourselves, take care of each other, and let me know how you're spreading ripples of love.